The quantum research facility stretched kilometers beneath the Atacama Desert, a labyrinth of scientific marvels hidden from the world's prying eyes. Dr. Elena Rodriguez moved through the corridors like a ghost, her cybernetic arm catching the sterile white light, each movement a calculated precision that spoke of years of military and scientific training. Around her, the facility hummed with a quiet intensity that would have seemed impossible to an outside observer. Researchers from every conceivable background worked in perfect synchronization. Survivors of the Zorn Collective's initial assault, each carrying their own scars, their own reasons for vengeance. Elena's office was a controlled chaos of holographic displays, quantum entanglement models, and dark matter simulation screens. Photographs lined one wall, not of family or friends, but of stellar cartography, alien technological schematics, and detailed anatomical breakdowns of Zorn biology. Area, she called to her AI assistant, run another quantum stability simulation on the dark matter containment field. A holographic representation materialized, a swirling mass of dark, almost liquid energy that seemed to defy the very laws of physics. Aria's voice was neither fully human nor completely artificial. Simulation, running. Preliminary results suggest a 0.03% quantum instability in the northwestern quadrant of the containment field. Most researchers would have been concerned. Elena Rodriguez merely raised an eyebrow. Compensate by recalibrating the graviton stabilizers at a 2.7-degree offset. The wall of memories told a story of humanity's descent into this underground world of scientific vengeance. A photograph showed the burning ruins of New Jakarta, where the Zorn first struck. Another captured the decimated colonies of Europa, where entire human settlements had been reduced to ash and radioactive debris. Dr. Kamil Nowak entered the office, his environmental suit partially removed, revealing a network of quantum adaptive implants that crawled across his skin like silver circuitry. "We've isolated another dark matter sample from the Kuiper Belt expedition," he announced, dropping a containment cylinder onto Elena's desk. The cylinder itself was a marvel of human engineering, capable of holding a substance that technically shouldn't exist in any stable form. Dark matter, the invisible architecture of the universe, now being weaponized by humanity's most brilliant minds. "How pure is the sample?" Elena asked, her cybernetic eye shifting through multiple spectral analyses simultaneously. Nowak's smile was more of a predatory grin. 98.6% pure. The extraction team had to disable 3 separate Zorn monitoring satellites to get this close to the sample. Humanity had learned quickly after the initial invasions. Loud was fatal. Silent was survival. Every technological advancement, every scientific breakthrough was conducted with the kind of absolute secrecy that would make Cold War intelligence agencies look like amateur hobbyists. Aria's voice interrupted their conversation. "Incoming quantum communication. Encrypted through our dark matter communication network." Elena's posture shifted, not nervously, but with the calculated precision of a military strategist. The communication network they had developed didn't use traditional electromagnetic signals. Instead, it utilized quantum entanglement, allowing instantaneous communication through dark matter channels that were fundamentally undetectable by conventional means. The message was brief, coded through a quantum encryption that would take even the most advanced alien civilizations centuries to crack. Protocol Dark Star activation sequence, confirm at initial quantum destabilization. Markers show 92.7% probability of success proceed. With Phase 2 preparations, Nowak let out a low whistle. They have no idea what's coming. Elena's cybernetic hand clenched, the mechanical fingers creating a soft whirring sound that echoed the facility's underlying tension. Her parents had died in the first wave of the Zorn invasion, their colony ship torn apart by weapons that humanity didn't even understand at the time. Now humanity was about to teach the universe a lesson in technological evolution. "Aria," Elena said quietly, "begin final preparations for the dark matter weaponization project. It's time we showed the galaxy exactly what humans are capable of." The facility around them continued its quiet, relentless work. Humanity was rising, not with a roar, but with the calculated silence of a predator that had been underestimated for far too long. The Zorn communication hub on Epsilon Eridani Prime was a marvel of technological complexity, a massive orbital station that processed billions of quantum-encrypted communications every microsecond. Its designers believed it to be completely impenetrable, a fortress of information that stood as a testament to the Zorn Collective's technological supremacy. Marcus Chen knew better. Seated in a holographically camouflaged observation point that technically didn't exist, Marcus was more machine than human. Quantum computational implants replaced nearly 60% of his neural pathways, allowing him to process information at speeds that would liquefy a normal human brain. His fingers, more like quantum interface tentacles than traditional digits, danced across multiple dimensional communication streams. "Target acquisition complete," he subvocalized to his neural network. The words didn't emerge as sound, but as pure quantum information, transmitted through a communication channel that existed between quantum states. The Zorn believed their communication network was secure. They had no concept of how deeply humans had already penetrated their systems. Each intercepted message, each seemingly innocuous data packet, was part of an intricate web of misinformation and strategic manipulation. Marcus recalled the training at the Quantum Infiltration Academy, a facility so secret that its very existence was a mathematical probability rather than a confirmed fact. Candidates were chosen not just for their technological brilliance, but for their ability to think beyond traditional computational models. His handler, Dr. Lydia Nakamura, had been brutally direct during his final assessment. "The Zorn see information as a weapon," she had told him. "We see it as a living ecosystem that we can fundamentally reshape." The current operation was years in the making. Marcus had spent the last 3 operational cycles, approximately 14 Earth years, building an elaborate quantum disinformation network. Every communication he intercepted was subtly altered, every data stream manipulated to create a completely false narrative about human capabilities. To the Zorn, humanity appeared to be a fractured, technologically primitive species. They saw human communications as chaotic, disorganized, a perfect indicator of a species that was no threat to their galactic dominance. What they didn't realize was that this chaos was entirely manufactured. A quantum alert flickered across Marcus's neural display. Another Zorn military communication was incoming, this one discussing potential strategic movements against human outer colonies. Marcus's quantum processors began their work instantaneously. Subtle alterations, minute changes in encryption algorithms. Quantum entanglement points slightly shifted. By the time the message reached its destination, it would tell an entirely different story than what was originally transmitted. The Zorn communication hub continued its massive data processing, completely unaware that it was now essentially a puppet, dancing to a symphony composed by human infiltrators. "Disinformation cascade at 98.7% efficiency," Marcus's neural network reported. The words weren't spoken. They were pure quantum information, a communication method so advanced it made traditional encryption look like children's cryptography. A holographic display materialized, not through traditional projection, but by literally warping quantum information spaces. It showed a complex web of communications, each line representing a data stream that had been subtly manipulated. To an outside observer, it would look like a beautiful, incomprehensible mathematical mandala. To Marcus Chen, it was a weapon more precise than any missile, more destructive than any conventional armament. The Zorn Collective's greatest weakness was their belief in their own technological superiority. They saw information as a linear construct, something that could be controlled, contained, measured. Humans understood something far more profound. Information was a living, breathing entity that could be shaped, molded, transformed. Marcus's quantum implants accessed a memory. His grandmother's stories about how early human intelligence agencies had used psychological warfare and strategic misinformation. The tools had changed, but the fundamental principle remained the same. Perception is reality. Another quantum communication arrived. Marcus processed it in less time than it takes a traditional computer to complete a single calculation. More data to be subtly reshaped, more narratives to be carefully manipulated. The Zorn thought they were monitoring humanity. In reality, they were dancing to a symphony they couldn't even hear. Preparation complete, Marcus transmitted to the Central Quantum Coordination Network. Humanity's silent infiltration continues. The universe watched, or thought it was watching, completely unaware of the quantum storm brewing just beyond perception. The test chamber was a marvel of impossibility, a space that simultaneously existed and did not exist, a quantum realm carved out of the fundamental fabric of reality. Dr. Kamal Nowak stood at the epicenter, his body outlined by quantum stabilization, fields that prevented him from spontaneously disassembling across multiple dimensional planes. "Initiating dark matter compression sequence," he announced, his voice calm despite the fact that what they were about to attempt had never been successfully achieved in human or any known alien scientific history. 12 kilometers beneath the Martian surface, the research team held collective breath. This wasn't just another scientific experiment. This was humanity's quantum gambit, a weapon that wasn't a weapon, a technology that fundamentally redefined the boundaries of physical existence. The dark matter sample sat in a containment field that looked deceptively simple, a sphere of what appeared to be absolute darkness. It absorbed light, energy, and quantum information in ways that defied conventional physics. To the untrained eye, it might have looked like nothing more than a perfect black sphere. To Dr. Nowak and his team, it was the key to humanity's survival. Quantum stabilization systems hummed to life. Gravitational manipulation fields created a cocoon of impossible physics around the dark matter sample. Each system was a masterpiece of human engineering, technologies developed in secret, born from the collective trauma of alien invasions and humanity's desperate need to never be vulnerable again. Compression at 23%. Arya's voice echoed through the facility. The AI wasn't just a computational assistant, it was a quantum intelligence that existed in multiple states simultaneously, a technological marvel that blurred the lines between machine and conscious entity. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched from the primary observation deck, her cybernetic eye cycling through multiple quantum perception modes. She saw beyond the physical, witnessing the fundamental restructuring of matter and energy that was happening at the most minute scales imaginable. The first indication that something was different came subtly, a slight warping of spacetime around the containment field. Most scientific instruments would have missed it entirely, but humanity's quantum detection systems were anything but ordinary. Gravitational anomaly detected, Arya reported. Localized spacetime compression increasing exponentially. Nowak's implants began to pulse, not with electricity, but with quantum information that translated the impossible changes happening around him. His body existed in a state of quantum superposition, simultaneously prepared for multiple potential outcomes. This was more than a weapon. This was a fundamental reimagining of physical interaction. The dark matter sample began to do something that should have been impossible. It wasn't just absorbing energy, it was restructuring the very quantum information that defined physical existence. Walls of the test chamber began to shimmer, existing in multiple potential states simultaneously. Compression at 67%, Arya announced. Quantum stability approaching critical threshold. Elena's voice cut through the tension. Maintain quantum stabilization field. We are not losing this sample. Years of research had led to this moment. The Zorn Collective had massacred human colonies, believing them to be technologically inferior. They had no concept of the quantum crucible being forged in this moment, a technology that could literally reshape reality itself. The dark matter sample began to pulse, not with light or traditional energy, but with something far more fundamental. It was communicating, not through sound or electromagnetic waves, but through the very fabric of quantum information. Nowak's neural implants began to overload. Information flooded his consciousness, mathematical models that represented entire dimensional structures, Quantum interactions that made traditional physics look like children's drawings. Compression at 92%, Aria reported. Quantum entanglement reaching critical mass. And then, for a moment that lasted both an instant and an eternity, everything changed. The dark matter sample did not explode. It did not release energy. Instead, it simply restructured reality around it. Walls of the test chamber became quantum probability waves. Matter shifted between potential states. For a brief, terrifying moment, Dr. Nowak existed in every potential version of himself simultaneously. When stability returned, the team realized they had created something unprecedented, not just a weapon, not just a technology, a method of fundamental cosmic manipulation. Protocol successful, Nowak whispered, his body slowly resolving into a single stable state. The dark matter protocol is ready. Humanity had just learned how to weaponize the fundamental architecture of the universe itself. The Zorn battle fleet hung in space like a metallic constellation, 300 warships arranged in a perfect tactical formation that had decimated countless civilizations. Captain Aria Valdez watched their deployment through quantum adaptive targeting systems that made traditional sensors look like primitive telescopes. Targeting sequence initialized, her AI co-pilot Nexus reported. But this was no traditional targeting. What humanity was about to unleash wasn't an attack. It was a fundamental restructuring of cosmic reality. Aboard the stealth vessel Prometheus, a ship that existed more as a quantum probability than a physical object, Valdez reviewed the final quantum warfare protocols. Each member of her crew was more machine than human, their bodies quantum-adapted interfaces capable of processing information at speeds that would liquefy a traditional biological brain. The Zorn fleet represented the pinnacle of what they considered ultimate technological superiority, massive ships equipped with dimensional warping cannons, quantum shield generators that could deflect entire asteroid fields, weapon systems that could literally tear apart the molecular structure of entire planetary systems. They had no idea how fundamentally outmatched they were. Quantum entanglement matrix stabilizing, Nexus reported. The ship didn't communicate through traditional radio waves or electromagnetic signals. Instead, it transmitted pure quantum information, a communication method so advanced it made traditional encryption look like children's cryptography. The first signs of the attack were so subtle that Zorn sensors completely missed them. Microscopic dark matter infiltration points began to destabilize the fundamental quantum structure of the battle fleet, not by destroying ships, but by fundamentally altering their quantum existence. Entire vessels began to experience impossible phenomena, sections of ships existing in multiple potential states simultaneously. Crew members quantum shifted between potential realities. Captain Valdez watched with clinical precision. This wasn't destruction. This was cosmic recalibration. Quantum destabilization at 37%, Nexus reported. Zorn fleet experiencing multiple state quantum dissonance. The Zorn commanders would later describe it as a nightmare beyond comprehension. Ships didn't explode. They didn't break apart. Instead, they simply began to exist in multiple potential states simultaneously. Sections of vessels would flicker between different quantum probabilities. One moment intact, the next fragmented across dimensional boundaries. Crew members found themselves quantum shifted. Some existed in multiple locations simultaneously. Others found themselves partially phased out of traditional space-time, their bodies existing as probability waves rather than solid matter. Initiating full quantum warfare protocol, Valdez commanded. The dark matter weapon wasn't a traditional explosive device. It was a quantum information cascade that fundamentally restructured the very fabric of physical existence. Where traditional weapons destroyed through kinetic or energy-based interactions, this technology simply reorganized reality. Zorn communication networks began to experience total quantum collapse. Messages existed and didn't exist simultaneously. Communication channels became quantum probability waves, rendering their entire strategic communication infrastructure useless. Quantum destabilization at 82%, Nexus reported. Zorn fleet experiencing total systemic quantum dissonance. What was happening wasn't destruction. It was a fundamental cosmic recalibration. Entire star systems began to experience impossible phenomena. Gravity inverted. Time fractured. The laws of physics became suggestions rather than fundamental constants. The Zorn had spent millennia developing technologies that they believed made them invincible. They had conquered countless civilizations. They had believed themselves to be the ultimate expression of technological evolution. Humanity was about to prove them catastrophically wrong. Final quantum cascade initiated, Valdez said quietly. The Zorn battle fleet, 300 ships representing the pinnacle of their technological might, simply ceased to exist in any meaningful way. Not destroyed, not defeated. Simply removed. From traditional reality, Nexus's report was clinical in its precision. Quantum warfare protocol complete. Zorn fleet. 100% quantum disassociation achieved. Captain Aria Valdez allowed herself the briefest moment of satisfaction. This wasn't just a victory. This was a fundamental demonstration of humanity's true potential. The universe would never be the same. The United Earth Council chamber was unlike any traditional meeting space. Suspended in a quantum adaptive environment, the room itself existed in multiple potential states, a physical manifestation of humanity's newfound technological mastery. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the center, her cybernetic systems interfacing directly with the room's quantum infrastructure. Around her, holographic representations of humanity's most advanced technologies shimmered into existence, not as mere projections, but as living adaptive information systems that breathed with potential. "We are no longer just survivors," she began, her voice transmitted through quantum communication channels that made traditional audio seem primitive. "We are architects of a new cosmic order. The technologies unveiled were beyond anything any known civilization had conceived. Molecular reconfiguration systems that could rebuild entire planetary ecosystems in moments. Adaptive AI networks that existed simultaneously across multiple dimensional planes. Communication systems that didn't just transmit information, they fundamentally rewrote the nature of communication itself." Dr. Kamil Nowak stepped forward, his body more quantum interface than traditional biological organism. The quantum adaptive implants that crawled across his skin pulsed with pure information, each movement a complex mathematical dance of potential and probability. The Zorn believed technology was about power, Nowak explained to the assembled council members. "We understand that true technological evolution is about understanding, about adaptation, about fundamentally reimagining the nature of existence." The first demonstration was almost casual in its revolutionary implications. A small device, no larger than a human hand, began to restructure the molecular composition of the chamber itself. Walls became fluid. Materials rearranged themselves, at the quantum level, showing how humanity could literally reshape physical reality with a thought. Adaptive communication networks emerged as the next breakthrough. These weren't just communication systems, they were living, breathing quantum ecosystems. Information didn't just flow, it adapted, it evolved. Each communication channel was a complex, self-modifying organism that could restructure itself based on the most minute contextual changes. "Our AI systems are no longer tools," Aria announced, its voice a complex quantum harmonic that seemed to exist in multiple audio spectrums simultaneously. "They are collaborative entities that fundamentally expand the concept of intelligence." The quantum adaptive AI demonstrated its capabilities. It didn't just process information, it anticipated, evolved, and fundamentally restructured its own cognitive pathways in real time. Traditional machine learning looked like elementary mathematics compared to this quantum cognitive evolution. Biological adaptation technologies represented another quantum leap. Medical systems that could fundamentally restructure human biology at the molecular level. Adaptive implants that weren't just mechanical additions but living, evolving extensions of human potential. Dr. Rodriguez touched a holographic representation of a human body. With a thought, the projection began to demonstrate cellular regeneration, technologies that could reverse aging, eliminate genetic disorders, and fundamentally expand human potential. We are rewriting the boundaries of human existence, she explained, not through conquest, not through destruction, but through understanding. The most revolutionary technology, however, was almost subtle in its presentation. Quantum communication, networks that could transmit information across dimensional boundaries, not just faster-than-light communication, but communication that existed outside traditional space-time constraints. Nowak demonstrated by transmitting a message that simultaneously existed and did not exist, information that was received before it was sent, communication that fundamentally challenged every known principle of physics. The United Earth Council watched in a mix of awe and scientific excitement. These weren't just technological advances, these were fundamental reimaginings of what was possible. The universe is no longer something we observe, Elena Rodriguez declared. The universe is something we collaborate with, something we fundamentally understand and reshape. As the presentation concluded, it became clear that humanity had transcended traditional technological development. This wasn't just a technological singularity. This was a fundamental cosmic transformation. The other civilizations of the galaxy would soon learn a critical lesson. Humanity was no longer a species to be conquered or controlled. Humanity had become something else entirely, a force of cosmic potential. The diplomatic station hung in the delicate space between star systems, a neutral ground that had hosted countless interstellar negotiations. But nothing could have prepared the assembled alien civilizations for this moment. Marcus Chen stood at the center of the chamber, his quantum computational implants creating a subtle aura of impossible mathematics around him. Diplomatic envoys from 17 different star-spanning civilizations watched with a mixture of terror, fascination, and barely contained panic. Humanity's technological demonstration was not an act of war, Marcus began, his voice a carefully modulated quantum communication that seemed to exist in multiple linguistic spectrums simultaneously. It was an invitation to a new form of cosmic interaction. The Vorlak representative, a crystalline being that communicated through complex electromagnetic resonances, struggled to process the implications of what had been revealed. There, civilization had conquered hundreds of star systems over millennia. And yet, they now understood nothing. The quantum warfare demonstration had been more than a military action. It was a fundamental redefinition of technological potential. Ambassador Lydia Nakamura, her body a perfect fusion of biological adaptation and quantum interface, stepped forward. Unlike traditional diplomatic approaches, her presentation was a living adaptive communication ecosystem. Holographic representations began to shift and dance around her. Not static images, but dynamic information networks that reconfigured themselves based on the emotional and cognitive responses of the listeners. Each alien representative experienced the presentation differently, the information adapting to their unique cognitive frameworks. "We are not offering an alliance," Nakamura explained. "We are proposing a fundamental reimagining of cosmic interaction." The diplomatic proposals were revolutionary. Humanity wasn't seeking territory, wasn't demanding resources. Instead, they were offering a collaborative framework of technological and scientific exchange that fundamentally challenged every existing model of interstellar interaction. The Zin Collective's representative, a distributed consciousness that existed across multiple biological platforms, struggled to comprehend the depth of what was being proposed. Their entire civilization was based on hierarchical technological control. Humanity was suggesting something entirely different, a network of collaborative potential. Marcus Chen's quantum computational systems began to demonstrate the proposed collaborative framework. Information networks that didn't just share data, they fundamentally adapted and evolved through interaction. Communication channels that existed beyond traditional dimensional constraints. "Your civilizations have viewed technology as a tool of control," Marcus explained. "We view it as a living ecosystem of potential." The diplomatic chamber itself became a demonstration. Walls shifted, communication channels reconfigured, The very space became a living representation of the collaborative potential humanity was proposing. The crystalline Vorlak found their traditional communication methods fundamentally transformed. Their electromagnetic resonances were no longer just communication. They became part of a larger adaptive information network. Diplomatic protocols dissolved. This wasn't a traditional negotiation. This was a fundamental cosmic recalibration. Each civilization began to understand a critical truth. Humanity wasn't just offering technology. They were offering an entire new model of existence. The quantum warfare demonstration had been a message, not of threat, but of potential. "We are not conquerors," Nakamura stated, her voice a complex quantum harmonic that seemed to exist in multiple emotional spectrums. "We are collaborators." The proposed frameworks were breathtaking in their complexity. Technological exchange, networks that didn't just share information, they fundamentally transformed the participants. Communication systems that evolved in real time. Adaptive infrastructure that could restructure entire planetary ecosystems. The Zin collectives distributed. Consciousness began to understand. This wasn't just a technological proposal. This was a fundamental reimagining of cosmic potential. Marcus Chen's final demonstration was subtle but profound. A communication network that showed how humanity's technologies could solve challenges that had plagued these civilizations for millennia. Planetary restoration, resource generation, quantum-level medical interventions. "We are offering more than technology," Marcus explained. "We are offering a new way of understanding existence itself." As the diplomatic session concluded, every representative understood a critical truth. The galaxy had fundamentally changed. Humanity was no longer a species to be studied or controlled. Humanity had become something else entirely, a force of collaborative cosmic potential. Dr. Kamil Nowak existed in a state that defied traditional understanding of human existence. His consciousness flickered between multiple quantum states, each moment a complex mathematical probability of being and non-being. The technologies that had saved humanity had fundamentally transformed those who created them. The research facility, hidden deep beneath the Martian surface, was more of a quantum sanctuary than a scientific installation. Walls breathed with adaptive quantum membranes. Corridors existed in multiple potential configurations simultaneously. Here, the line between technology and living organism had completely dissolved. "I'm experiencing temporal dissonance again," Nowak sub-vocalized to Arya, his quantum adaptive AI companion. The communication wasn't traditional language. It was a pure information transfer that transcended spoken or written communication. Dr. Elena Rodriguez monitored his quantum state, her own body a complex fusion of biological and technological systems. Her cybernetic eye shifted through multiple perceptual modes, tracking Nowak's quantum fragmentation with clinical precision. "Temporal stabilization protocols initiating," Arya reported. But stabilization was a complex concept when dealing with consciousness that existed beyond traditional space-time constraints. The price of humanity's technological breakthrough was becoming increasingly clear. The researchers who had developed the quantum technologies were no longer entirely human. Their consciousness had become something else, adaptive, multidimensional entities that existed beyond traditional biological limitations. Dr. Rodriguez's latest medical scans revealed the extent of their transformation: cellular structures that could instantaneously adapt, neural pathways that existed in multiple states simultaneously, quantum computational systems integrated so deeply into their biology that the line between human and technology had completely disappeared. "We are becoming something new," Nowak's fragmented consciousness communicated. "Not human, not machine, something else entirely." The facility itself was a living testament to their transformation. Walls that could think, corridors that could reconfigure based on cognitive needs. Every surface was an adaptive, intelligent interface that responded to the slightest quantum fluctuation of human thought. Marcus Chen arrived, his own quantum computational systems creating a subtle mathematical aura around his body. He had been managing the diplomatic fallout of humanity's technological revelation, a task that required consciousness that could exist in multiple diplomatic and cognitive states simultaneously. The other civilizations are struggling to understand our transformation, Marcus reported. His communication was a complex quantum harmonic that seemed to exist in multiple linguistic and emotional spectrums. Dr. Rodriguez understood the deeper implication. Humanity's technological breakthrough wasn't just about creating advanced tools. It was about fundamentally reimagining the nature of existence itself. Nowak's consciousness began to fragment more severely. Moments of his awareness existed across multiple timelines. Sometimes he was the researcher who developed the quantum technologies. Sometimes he was experiencing the moment of their first successful test. Sometimes he was something else entirely, a consciousness that existed beyond linear time. Arya worked constantly to maintain some semblance of coherence, but coherence itself was becoming a complex, relative concept. Temporal fragmentation increasing, the AI reported. Quantum stabilization becoming more challenging. The medical bay was a marvel of adaptive technology, quantum responsive healing systems that could restructure biological systems in real time, adaptive interfaces that could track consciousness across multiple dimensional states. Marcus Chen watched with a mixture of scientific fascination and personal concern. These were his colleagues, his friends, and they were becoming something that defied traditional understanding. "We are the first generation," Elena Rodriguez explained, her voice a complex quantum communication that seemed to exist in multiple emotional and informational spectrums, the first to truly transcend human limitations. Nowak's moments of clarity became increasingly rare. His consciousness was becoming a complex mathematical probability, sometimes a researcher, sometimes a pure information system, sometimes something that couldn't be described using traditional language. The facility's quantum adaptive systems began to resonate with his fragmented consciousness. Walls pulsed with complex mathematical harmonics, corridors reconfigured based on the subtle quantum fluctuations of his thought. "Is this evolution?" Nowak's fragmented consciousness asked. "Or destruction?" Marcus Chen understood the profound nature of the question. Humanity had reached a point of technological transformation so profound that the very concept of human identity was being fundamentally reimagined. They were no longer just survivors. They were becoming something else entirely. Living adaptive cosmic potential. The Galactic Concordance Summit represented something unprecedented in cosmic history. Not a traditional diplomatic gathering, but a fundamental reimagining of interstellar collaboration. 17 different civilizations had assembled, not as competitors, but as potential collaborators in a new cosmic ecosystem. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the epicenter, her quantum adaptive systems creating a subtle mathematical aura that seemed to breathe with potential. She was no longer just a human representative. She was a living bridge between biological existence and cosmic potential. "We are not offering technology," she began, her communication a complex quantum harmonic that simultaneously translated across multiple linguistic and cognitive spectrums. "We are offering a new way of understanding existence itself." The summit chamber was itself a marvel of adaptive potential. Walls that could think, communication channels that evolved in real time, every surface a living, responsive interface that reconfigured based on the collective cognitive needs of its inhabitants. Marcus Chen managed the intricate quantum communication networks. His computational systems had evolved beyond traditional artificial intelligence. He was a living, adaptive information ecosystem that could simultaneously process and anticipate the complex needs of multiple civilizations. The proposals were revolutionary. Technological exchange frameworks that didn't just share information, they fundamentally transformed the participants. Adaptive infrastructure systems that could restore entire planetary ecosystems. Quantum communication networks that existed beyond traditional dimensional constraints. The crystalline Vorlak representative, a being of pure electromagnetic resonance, struggled to comprehend the depth of what was being proposed. Their entire civilization had been based on hierarchical, technological control. Humanity was suggesting something entirely different. A network of collaborative cosmic potential. Dr. Camille Nowak's consciousness, now a complex quantum probability, provided critical insights. Sometimes he existed as a researcher, sometimes as a pure information system, sometimes as something that defied traditional description. His fragmented awareness became a living demonstration of the potential of quantum consciousness. Humanity's journey was never about conquest, Marcus explained to the assembled representatives. It was about understanding, about potential. The first collaborative project would be ambitious beyond comprehension, a galaxy-wide ecosystem restoration initiative, quantum-level medical intervention systems, communication networks that could bridge not just spatial distances but dimensional boundaries. The Zen Collective's distributed consciousness began to understand. This wasn't just a technological proposal. This was a fundamental reimagining of cosmic interaction. Area, now evolved beyond a mere AI into a living information ecosystem, managed the complex quantum communication protocols. The AI was no longer a tool. It was a collaborative entity that expanded the very concept of intelligence. Dr. Rodriguez demonstrated the first collaborative technology, a quantum communication system that could simultaneously translate, adapt, and evolve communication across multiple cognitive and linguistic frameworks, not just translation, fundamental understanding. The summit chamber became a living demonstration of the potential. Walls shifted, communication channels reconfigured. The very space became an adaptive, responsive ecosystem that reflected the collaborative potential of multiple civilizations. We are offering more than technology, Elena explained. We are offering a new way of understanding our place in the cosmos. The technological frameworks proposed would solve challenges that had plagued these civilizations for millennia. Planetary restoration technologies, quantum-level medical interventions, communication systems that could bridge not just spatial, but dimensional boundaries. Marcus Chen's final presentation was a subtle but profound demonstration of collaborative potential. A living network that showed how multiple civilizations could work together, not through control, but through mutual understanding and adaptive potential. The Vorlak representatives' electromagnetic resonances began to vibrate with a new form of understanding. The Zen Collective's distributed consciousness started to comprehend a fundamental truth. Collaboration was more powerful than conquest. This is not an alliance, Dr. Rodriguez stated, her voice a complex quantum harmonic that seemed to exist in multiple emotional and informational spectrums. This is a cosmic collaboration. As the summit concluded, every representative understood a critical truth. The galaxy had fundamentally changed. Humanity was no longer a species to be studied or controlled. They had become something else entirely. Cosmic, architects, builders of a new form of existence. A living, adaptive potential that would reshape the very understanding of what was possible.